Hello, everyone. Let's have a look at something called sepsis. So, sepsis is on the rise. It increases every year. Every time that they look up this stuff, it increases. So, we got a little study here. It's called Sepsis Trends. And I just keyword searched it for increase. So, this talks about all of the increases in sepsis. As you can see, I got my little yellow highlights. Has dramatically increases in incidence. We got a little chart here, 140% relative increase, 70% relative increase, 140% relative increase. So, increase in number of organ failures, increase in hospitalizations. That doesn't sound very good. Increase in disease rates. So, let's look at another study. So, 1.7 million people in the United States develop sepsis, a potentially deadly immune response to infection. So this is a story and a study from this person, Jackie. She almost died from sepsis. This is a very understudied and underknown thing, but it costs 62 billion annually in hospitalizations and skilled nursing care. So this is affecting a lot of people. And notice they're going to say that COVID was part of this problem. But what happened during COVID? People were told to get a bunch of dogs up in their house. You're going to be home alone, not working. Get yourself a therapy dog, a guide dog, a puppy dog, etc., so on and so forth. And it's difficult to diagnose. So that's pretty interesting. Like, you would think it would be simple to diagnose. You go to the hospital and they should be able to test for it. But people are bringing this sickness, this bacteria that causes this, into these hospitals. And that's why it's hard to diagnose. If you have a surgery scheduled on, say, like a Tuesday, they will tell you Monday night not to eat any food because they don't want you to, have an accident, which could cause a sepsis risk. But also, they give you this special cleanser. So before you go in for surgery, you have to cleanse your body with a special cleanser at your house so you don't get sepsis during a surgery. But, people will take those special showers, but then they will pet their dog, hug their dog, touch their dog's feet and saliva before they go in for surgery, ride in their car that has been full of dogs. So, to me, it looks like ownership of dogs could be a huge culprit behind this crazy sepsis. You might notice they say here, if we had a single test that identified sepsis, it would make it much easier. Well, there is a test, the presence of dog saliva. That's one test, and strangely, I don't see them mentioning it in too many of these studies, except for this one that I found. So check out this one. It's over at PubMed Central. A small lick will sink a great ship. Yes, this stuff is in the dog saliva. It's called Capnocytophica canemorsis. It's a bacteria transmitted through the saliva of dogs. Infection can cause severe sepsis. In the introduction, they have to throw in this little thing about dogs being man's best friend, which is an absolute lie. But notice what they talk about. Dogs are widespread and popular. See what it says right here? Nothing has become as widespread and popular as dogs. And notice what it says here. Because of this proximity, the risk of transmission of zoonotic diseases has increased. So, like I mentioned with the whole thing about blaming this on COVID, making people be immunologically challenged. Well, you're also immunologically challenged with having dogs around you because your zoonotic diseases are having to be fought off. Sorry. So even if you don't directly get this from a dog, your immune system is already weakened by the presence of a dog because you're having to deal with these zoonotic diseases. So in this study, they have a 41-year-old man. He suffered from this infection. Its transmitted occurred by a dog licking a small lower extremity wound He expected a beneficial effect on the wound healing. So he fell for that stupid stuff where people say, "Oh, let a dog lick you, that's going to lick your wounds and save you." No, it's not. It's going to, first off, make your immune system work way too hard, and second off, if your immune system can't take care of this stuff, now you've got limb loss and sepsis and organ failure and billions of dollars of expenditure in the hospital. So this guy suffered some pretty nasty losses, as you can see. He wound healing after below knee amputation of both legs and finger amputations. He needed subsequent wound closures by flaps and split thickness skin grafts. So this is serious business. The conclusion of the study states, dog bites or even the contact of wound surfaces with dog saliva may lead to life-threatening sepsis and potentially fatal outcomes, increased awareness, proper surgical wound revision, and aggressive antibiotic treatment. Okay, they're talking about aftercare treatment. What about prevention? Keep your wounds away from dogs. Keep that dander and feces and urine particles away from your immune system instead of having to do all this afterwards. Let's go revisit this little study that Inside Edition published in this video.
Then we turned off the lights and shined an ultraviolet light onto the floor. Your dogs have been all over this apartment. Look at the prints behind you. They're everywhere.
Oh my gosh.
It doesn't hurt at all. I swabbed their paws too. The dirty dog paw results are in. Time to reveal the details. Kevin, your retriever, has 10 different types of bacteria and 2 types of fungus. Sashi, your poodle, has 6 different types of bacteria and 1 fungus. And Charlie, the poodle, 8 types of bacteria and 1 fungus. And guess what? All of your dogs had E. coli. Different types of bacteria and 1 fungus, including a really bad bug that can cause pneumonia, meningitis, and urinary tract infections.
So these are the people that have these dogs that are working in hospitals, working in schools, filling your prescriptions. I mean, think of it. A nurse works at a hospital, goes on a smoke break, goes outside. People are out there with dogs. She's rubbing on the dogs, touching the dogs, letting the dogs lick on her. She goes back in, does some hand sanitizer, and proceeds to hand out pills throughout the hospital, touch people at the hospital, touch the clothing at the hospital. And you're going to wonder why sepsis is increasing in hospitals. Well, dogs, there's no way that dogs are not a huge part of this. This is our current society. There's this big push to put these dogs in hospitals. Oh, somebody's going in for any type of thing in a hospital. They got to bring in a bunch of therapy dogs and put them in the hospital and play around. They're using this medical equipment to do a pretend sonogram or something on this dog. They're just playing around. They're using this whole hospital area. You know that this dog is dander flying everywhere on these feet, the meningitis, the E. coli on these feet, the mouth full of E. coli and full of the fungus and bacteria that causes sepsis. And this is what we're doing in hospitals. So, dog owners, people that are in the hospitals, you should know this information. This should be required reading. You got a freaking E. coli factory right here. You got a freaking sepsis factory right there. Kissing and licking on these dogs in the hospital. These dogs do not belong in the hospital. Nurses and doctors belong in the hospital. If you go in for surgery, you have to do all of those things like I mentioned before. And then you go in there and you touch this creature that has all that nasty bacteria on you, taxing your immune system, putting you at risk for sepsis. Same thing in these schools. Putting dogs in schools. Why do you think that pediatric sepsis is on the rise? Well, all these kids are getting more and more exposed to that. Not to mention, elevated CO2 levels that come out of this dog's mouth increase viral transmission. It's been proven and studied and demonstrated. This CO2 factory, this E. coli factory, just does not belong near kids. How can they even focus on reading a book? Dogs cannot be focused. Dogs have to have a bunch of Prozac pumped into them for them to sit there and chill. There's these kids got their computers open like they're doing something, and they're all staring at the dog. You know that dog's going to be bebopping around distracting everybody. But there again, there is your little infection, your staph infection, your sepsis infection bacteria right in the mouth of that dog. So, what does everybody think? Shouldn't dogs being inside of these places be a huge conversation when it comes to sepsis? And there are a lot of sepsis awareness Facebook pages and stuff. So you should go join one of those pages and ask them, hey, what are you guys doing about dogs being put up in the hospital next to my kid and next to my wife and grandma that are going in for surgery? They're at risk for sepsis, and you're bringing dogs into the hospital. We should take care of each other and look at this situation, because we're losing kids, we're losing grandmas, mothers, and fathers to these sepsis things. And then meanwhile, we're bringing all these dogs into the hospital, bringing all these dogs up into homes. And it's been proven that the dogs are a gigantic bacteria and other sickness factory. See you guys later. Thanks for watching. Hope to read some comments later.